Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the District Delegate Assembly meeting. I'm delighted that you're all here and that we do have a number of members of our HOA. Let's begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the first order of business, we have the agenda, approval of the minutes of August 4th meeting. May I have a motion, please? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Are there any changes, any corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye. Second item on our agenda is the report from the Recreation Department. And here comes Kara.
All right. Whoa. I'm either too quiet or I'm too loud. What can I say? Good afternoon, everyone. It's going to be a busy fall here at Sun Lakes. We've got lots of things going on. There's something for everyone. I want to make sure that everybody remembers that there's flyers in the front lobby about dates, times. Also check the Sun Lakes webpage. And always, please give Linda, myself, or one of the receptionists a call if there's any questions or anything's unclear and you have any questions. Someone is here at the main desk every day from 8 to 5, so we'll always have someone on staff to answer your questions. Some of the fun things that are coming up in September. On Monday the 12th, we're going to have our ice cream social, and that's going to be our last ice cream social for the season. In October, we're going to have an apple pie social. And that's going to be, again, that first Monday of the month. We've got some music on the veranda. We've got Renee here on Wednesday the 7th. And then Delaney and James are going to be here on the 21st. So that's a couple of happy hours that we've got music for. Also in September, we've got a night of magic. So we're going to have a magician come. It'll be table seating. Tickets are $15. And Chef Chris is also going to prepare a selection of appetizers for us, and that's an additional $15 that you can purchase those tickets through the restaurant at the hostess station. So those will be pre-purchased tickets. You'll have to purchase those separately. But again, any questions, give us a call. We'll be happy to help you out. Then that Sunday, we have the big band jazz concert. That's part of that Firebird concert series. So they're going to be here on Sunday the 18th at 2 p.m. here in the ballroom. Activities Day is going to be Saturday the 24th from 1 to 4 here in the ballroom. So if you're part of a group, club, committee, and you're looking for to recruit some new members, please sign up at the reception desk to get a table. If you're new to Sun Lakes, because I know this is recorded, going out to everybody, please come because you're going to learn all that Sun Lakes has to offer. We have over 80 groups and clubs, so chances are there's somebody who's interested or has a hobby that is the same as you, and this is the place to hook up with those people. We're going to have our last Music Under the Stars. That's going to be September 24th, and that's going to be Tin Man's Heart is going to be playing on that one. Also in September, we're going to be doing some lottery drawings for future events. For the craft fair, that is the first weekend in November. The lottery drawing for that will be from September 19th to the 25th. The drawing will actually be on Monday the 26th. In October, we're going to have a masquerade ball murder mystery theater, and that lottery will be during the same time. Again, on Monday the 26th, we're going to do the drawing. The craft fair drawing will be at 9:30, and the lottery for the masquerade, I think, is later on in the morning at 11:30. There's going to be lots of cool trips coming up. And remember, any of the trips that I mentioned or up at the front desk, anyone is able to come. So you're more than welcome to bring your family or your friend members with you. It's not exclusive for Sun Lakes residents. They're going to Little Italy for the day in San Diego, Catalina Island, Long Beach. They've also just added a trip to the Rose Parade, which is going to be on Monday, January 2nd, since they don't do the Rose Parade on Sundays. But they've also got trips to Washington, D.C., Paris, Vermont, all kinds of really neat things. So if you're interested in traveling, we have all that information up front. Does anybody have any questions? All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Cara. Thanks for the report. I don't see our food and beverage director here, Thomas, so let's step to the next one. And
Well, Joe, I can do that report for,
Oh, thank you.
for Thomas.
Thank you, Chris.
So we have a couple of items that Thomas wanted to bring up. As a reminder, Monday Night Football in the lounge starts September 12th. Taco Tuesday Buffet starts on the 13th. That price, there's a flyer on the website. You should see they're $18 for the Taco Tuesday Buffet. Then Thursday, the 15th, is the first Pasta Thursday, 5 to 7. So Taco Tuesday, 5 to 7, Pasta Night, 5 to 7. The price of the Pasta Night is $20. And so these are ticket events. Oh, and last but not least, the Comedy Night Appetizer Buffet is on the 16th. All of these are pre-sold ticketed events. They can be purchased at the hostess stand, in the restaurant. Go see Terry or go see Betty or Ariana there, and they can assist you with purchasing those tickets. For October, we look forward to the Chef's Table on October 2nd. This is a lottery system, 48 gets, so it's limited on the amount of members that can attend. Then there is an Oktoberfest on October 15th, German food buffet and live music, and of course the long-awaited and anticipated Greek night in the ballroom on November 5th. More details to follow on that, including what dance Thomas is going to do on that event. But those are some of the updates for food and beverage.
Thank you, Chris. That's quite an ambitious schedule coming up. The next we have on our agenda is the Restaurant and Lounge Advisory Committee and the report from Sharon.
Good afternoon. Hi. It's a pleasure to represent the Restaurant and Lounge Committee, which Jim is a part of as well. And I just wanted to cover July results of the surveys that we've been conducting. So first I'd like to start, and I have a slight presentation. I find numbers are much better to consume if you have a reference point, and this helps in doing so. So first of all, I want to cover our charter. And the main thing I'd like to, let me see if this will reach. Oops, and I am not going to be able to read it from here. Can I have a mic and approach the screen? Thank you. Sorry, there's just no way I can read it from here, even with my new eyes. Is to advise and make recommendations to the master board regarding individual and club and our group concerns or suggestions related to the food and beverage operations. Well, one of the ways we wanted to do that, of course, is to get the feedback of the community. So the survey program was created to go in line with the new menu creation, which came out on the 8th of July. So this is going to be the results for July by week. So, and I want to just, I know I don't have too long, and I talk fast, but I wanted to just show the number of surveys tabulated, and I think I have no I don't. So at the top there, you see the number of surveys tabulated. So the first week was actually just the weekend of the 8th through the 11th, where we had 90. And then we actually saw it kind of narrow, just decreasing as people had filled one out already. But really, feel free to fill one out each time you visit, because every visit's going to be unique. So we'd like the feedback, especially if you have something different on the menu. We want to know how was it that you liked that particular meal. So we averaged 77 per week. And then it asks through the different questions. Were you greeted and seated in a friendly manner? How was the service? Were you served then as well in a friendly and timely manner? And that each week, you can see, continued to grow week over week, which is encouraging in that the service teams became more comfortable with the new menu and how things were progressing. Rate the server's knowledge of the menu. That grew, again, every week as they became more familiar with what Chef Chris and the team in the kitchen had created. So that was also very good. Were you informed of the chef special? This one we saw a kind of a lower number, and mainly because we have it posted as you walk in. So the servers weren't necessarily sharing with you what the special were because they assumed that you had read that already. So they're working on that, I know. And then rating the service throughout the meal, which is something that Thomas actually said is important to him. We created these surveys with his input on what was important for the feedback for the service team and Thomas as well as food and beverage director. So rating your meal overall, the dessert overall, which the dessert, interestingly enough, the number's there at 3.53, but the participation of actual surveys, we reduce those who don't rate that. So we reduce that number to get a proper tabulation. But again, it's not highly participative. So we're hoping to change that. That's one of the things that the Restaurant and Lounge Committee we're walking away with, saying, okay, how do we increase dessert purchases? So we're working on that. And then, of course, the value for your meal and your overall impression and atmosphere. So we got the total, the score 3.57, which again, when you're working on a scale of 1 to 4, you know, hey, that first time we're doing this survey, this type of survey of the actual patrons coming to the restaurant, we were pleased with that overall number, and yet we also identified the things that we want to improve on. The same can be said, here is the lounge and veranda survey as well, and you can see there it talks about the drink offerings, the drink value, the lounge menu, and the menu value itself, and that came in a little bit lower at 3.55, and yet we have had some very good feedback in regards to the menu that was offered in comparison to the old menu. And it's, again, that feedback that we really like to receive. So again, I know this is a bit of an eye chart, especially for those in the back, but we're hoping to be able to make that available. The board will make the decision on when and where they're going to be posting that information for residents to be able to gather and glean from themselves. So I'm just sharing it quickly here with you. So the next thing, of course, is did you receive a survey? And I actually brought a stack in. If you haven't received one, we can pass those around. But again, we want to, if you don't receive one, with your check, and that was how the procedures were written, is when you receive your check, you're to receive a survey. But if for any reason you do not, ask for one or grab one. They're stacked right there by the survey box itself on your way out. And the sandwich is up front on the bar there, but feel free to grab them. We always like to start with the good things, right? The positive comments. So let's start with some of those that we received. Great job, improved. We liked all the restaurant staff. Our server and bus person were excellent and very friendly. The bartenders and waitresses are fantastic. The new menu looks great, all good. The plates as served look lovely and delicious. We are big fans. The restaurant has improved immensely. Lounge staff are much more informed, friendly, responsive, insightful, and service-oriented. I love the fact that Thomas is back and the chef is great. I love this place. Who doesn't want to hear that? This was great feedback. These are not things we came up with. I did not ad-lib these. These are directly off the surveys. So this is wonderful to hear. And I think our staff and the team need to hear this kind of information. Now we have the comments. Now they're not as grand, but they're important too. So the art decor needs to be updated. We've got that. We hear that. And I know the board knows that as well, and they're working on that. No centerpiece and no music. We're actually, as a committee, we're working on centerpieces, and we'll be presenting something to the board this coming week or two. And the music, I understand, is set, but sometimes can't always be heard. But it is there. Listen carefully. Allowing substitution of sides. We need a Taco Tuesday. You've got a Taco Tuesday. Bring back the vegetable soup. I read that one quite often. They like the vegetable soup. Bring back the filet of sole. Yeah, I got a hands up there. Couple of them. Restaurant decor and photos of the grounds was a recommendation or comment. Bring back some of the favorite menu items from the old menu. And we've heard that one. How about signature mocktails? I'd be interested in that one. That was a good suggestion. And then bring back our favorites, the golfer and the pro. Yeah, I get a lot of head nods there. Okay, now the critiques. Yeah, and I just want to say, you can get your point across with kind words. Because, boy, some of the things I read, but the critiques, some of the things that they felt we could improve on, Carpet needs cleaning, and the board knows this, and they've addressed it, and they're working on it, I know, diligently. Poor selection of the menu. Everybody has an opinion. Some think it's great, others think it could improve. We kept being told no substitutions, and that again has been passed on and will be addressed. Restaurant servers not familiar with the menu. It was a new menu for them, quite a change. And I know, again, we saw in the survey results themselves, we saw improvement week over week with that. A mediocre wine selection, we're working on that one as well. Very disappointed there was no more soul. I got a head shake there, right? Baked oatmeal is terrible. I'm not a big fan of oatmeal myself, but weren't fans of the baked oatmeal. Wait staff is trying very hard, but a bit disorganized. Prices could be better. Prices have really gone up, and we can all attest prices have gone up everywhere, right? So they work hard, and the Restaurant Lounge Committee as well worked with First Service when the menu was created, trying to look at menu prices and what the food cost actually was. So please know that it was not just randomly picked, it was actually very much analyzed and assessed. So our monthly drawing, we have this is the survey card itself. The more you dine, the more chances you will have to win. So just because you filled out one before, fill out another one if you're dining with us to get it and drop it in. That's how you get entered into the monthly drawing. So fill out the bottom portion, fill out that bottom portion of the survey right there to be entered. So include that information so we know that you are actually a patron for the day and you'll be entered in the drawing. Our survey drawing winner for July was Cindy Cross, and I doubt she's here. But Cindy Cross, if you're watching now, please go to the admin office and collect your $25 gift card back to our restaurant. The support, though, is needed from everybody in our community. We are so blessed as a community to have such wonderful amenities like our restaurant and lounge, and we need everyone to participate in supporting them. Currently, there is only about a 10% participation within our community in the restaurant and lounge. We really need everybody supporting. So if you haven't been in a while, I'd like to encourage you to come out and try something new from the menu. So have a voice in your restaurant, lounge, and your community by completing a survey card each time you dine. Drop it in the box, and again, the more you dine, the more chances you have to win. Any questions? Yes.
Do you have a handout on this report, or is it on the Sun Lakes website?
So as a member of the Restaurant and Lounge, we prepare the survey report each week along with all the comments.
I'm still not understanding what you're saying.
Okay, I'm sorry. So each week when we gather up all the surveys, we create a report for the just the week, along with all the comments. Sometimes that's 2 and 3 pages of typed comments. And then we pass those on to the liaison, which is Lori for the Restaurant and Lounge Committee. So it gets passed to her. From that point, being that I've delivered, or our committee has delivered to the master board member, it goes from there. So what they will plan on doing it with is to them, whether I'm not sure if they can answer that question, they would be better suited for it.
So the answer is no.
I don't have a handout. It's not mine to give. It would be up to the master board.
Do you think that we will have a written report brief, if it might be? Bob?
I'm sorry. Oh, yes.
Yes, we're getting that all together, and we're going to try to get it on the website ASAP. We're working on that now, going on the form, figuring out whether we need all the detail or just part of the detail to get the point across.
Very good. Thank you, Randy.
It's been a great presentation.
Thank you. Great question as well. I think as a homeowner myself, I'd love to see that out there and consume, hear what our, what the results were. We're putting them in. We'd like to see what they are. I agree. Anybody else? Well, hopefully that means I did a good job of explaining.
Sharon, thank you very much.
My
and
pleasure.
Thank your committee for such a great report.
Yeah, it's been a fun group of people. We really get to participate and enjoy. Thank you. We're happy to serve our community. If anybody would like a survey card, I'll leave them here and you can grab them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a report from the Charitable Trust. David?
Good afternoon. I'm David Keeley, Chair of the Sun Lakes Country Club Charitable Trust, affectionately known as Sun Lakes Charity. Delegates, staff, board members, and residents here in the room, and those of you who are watching or will watch, greetings, and I'm thankful that we are asked to make this report. Some bullets on a quick report today, reviewing some things that we all know, but it kind of builds on a report on what people are asking us, how much are we going to give away, or how much have we given away. We're living in challenging times. COVID did not go away. Huge warehouses been planned across the street from our front door. Now, I'm not an economist, but I recognize, like you do, upheaval, contagion, inflation, recession. In light of this, local charities that we connect with as volunteers and supporters, they're impacted like we are. Costs are up for everything they do, everything we do. You understand that. I reported we paid our restaurant over $28,000, which helps our HOA. It really does, because the restaurant serves us according to the things that are planned during that week in June, and they give us budgets, and we sell tickets, and I've met with Thomas, and they're pleased, and they made money, and that's really good. But $28,000 is a huge chunk that people don't realize. That's part of what it costs to put on events like that. But through all this, we stand strong. Local charities we support are applying for grants. I made mention of that last month. And from the fundraising events we staged during the year, in that month, as well as a couple of other months we're doing events now, we receive gifts also from people from their estates on a regular basis, and so we're able to help the charities. This year we will prove again to Banning that Sun Lakes gives forward. Newsletter item for you, you might want to mention that on November 17th at 6 p.m., 6 to 8 here in the ballroom, they'll have a chance to meet the charities that are going to receive grants this year. That's November 17, Thursday night, and that's always a popular event, so encourage your people to come and to meet the charities. They will all have a display, and you'll have a chance to meet them and talk to them specifically about what they do. A question that I'm asked, how much do we give? Well, as we approach $2 million that we've given away through our charitable efforts as an organization since 1989, 1990, in 2021, it was a little over $93,000. This year, it will be over $60,000. And finally, I'd just really like to thank District 7. I've received an invitation to meet with them at a breakfast that they do monthly. I'm looking forward to that. They want to know more than these bullets about the charity, and I'm really happy to do that. So congratulations to District 7 and what you guys do in putting this breakfast on monthly. I think that's great for your district. I didn't know districts did that, but I was glad to get that call. Thank you very much. I'll be here afterwards if you have questions.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the report. The next item on our agenda is a report from EPAP. EPAP has done a marvelous job on reorganization, and the three young ladies that are at the top of it are working day and night. And you know what? It's all to benefit us. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'm Candace Jenkins, and I'm with EPAP. And we want to let you know that Brian O'Grady, who I don't see here, has accepted the position of Director of Information Management Unit for the EOC. He and his wife Phyllis moved here to Sun Lakes in 2019 after he retired from a 30-year career as an information technology project manager based in San Diego. He will oversee the information management unit for EPAP and will work closely with each district's program manager. His work will include coordinating and facilitating the flow of current community information as it pertains to emergency preparedness only. We will be continuing the first aid classes through September, and then starting in October, we will start CPR and AED training. We are scheduled to have our annual drill on October 20th, 2022, and it will be in conjunction with the California Shakeout. So please be prepared. Look on the website. We have a lot of information about what you can do to prepare yourself for this. And for those of you that were not aware, we had intermittent power outages yesterday in a couple of our districts. So we did open the EOC and activated EPAP in case there were any long-term outages that would require electric to be brought to the bus room. Dick Spalding was able to speak with Tom Miller, who is the Director of Banning Utilities, and Tom stated that they have fixed the issue that was causing the temporary outages, and that we should not have any problems moving forward throughout this heat wave. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know how important you think this might be, but EPAP has become a very, very important cog in our lifestyle here at Sun Lakes. You have to remember that a disaster is something in the future and hopefully never, but blackouts are going to happen practically every summer, one way or another. And that is what EPAP is reporting on, and that is their task. So all of what they do is to assist each and every one of us. Now the district delegates, you have to do your part. You have to tell the people here what is happening and how it's happening and when. So I think it's important that we spread the word as far as EPAP is concerned as they get back to the position they had years ago. The next item on our agenda is the presentation of an ad hoc committee for board expansion. Gail?
I'd like to give a little intro to Gail before she begins. I don't know if you remember or not, during the forums that we had for the candidates for the master board, one of the questions on those forums were, do we want to have a extension, more people on the master board, yes or no? Some of the communities have had that, and so since that question came up, we decided, why don't we go ahead and appoint a committee, have them research and get back to us with information relative to that. So that's what we've done. The committee was chaired by Carol Tasco, Gail Billick was on it, Marcia Midget, and David Keeley, and they did an excellent, timely job of coming up with a report. They presented it to us, the master board, last week, and we felt it was important to share that report with all the delegates here today. So, Gail, go ahead with your report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You don't have a copy of the report that we gave to the board, but I'm going to do a presentation on PowerPoint and leave the rest up to the board to decide what to do. So we were tasked with some different research, and the things they asked for were the legal feasibility of board expansion, exploring, if any, governing documents that would need to be updated, if there's a need for board expansion, qualifications of new members, number of additional members, if so, possible changes in member terms depending on board population, board member responsibilities updated, mechanisms to update or implement this if they choose to do it, and then to define the roles and duties of each of the members. So the legal feasibility of the board expansion really is in the current bylaws. The current bylaws say that the board will be managed by 5 board members, and if that number is going to be changed, it's by the duly adopted amendment to the bylaws, which would be a simple majority. And let's see, and that's what that is. So if there's a need to for board expansion, it's really tough to read, so let me see what I can do for you here. Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to take your book up there with you?
I'm just going to go for there. Thanks. Yeah, I can't do it from back there. Okay. So currently with a 5-member board, it's easier to convene a 5-member board. Discussions and consensus take less time. Ability to oversee management and finances. It follows a 36-year plan that's currently in place. Each director has a title. All work together to decide what's best for the community. Efficiency in meetings to cover executive and open agendas. It's an opportunity to give back to the community. And then research feasibility of expanding to a 3-year term for continuity and ease of elections. Now, if the board chose to change to a 7-member board, here's some other ideas. Less time commitment for advisory committees. 2 board member liaisons for each committee for continuity. That was a suggestion. More accessibility to the community. More representation from the community. The ability to oversee management and finances. Greater insight with more board members. Continuity of experience. Ability to look at a rotating election of members, opportunity to give back to the community, broader views for more members, or from more members, at-large members, different responsibilities, but equal voice and vote. And by that we mean that there would still be your president, your vice president, your secretary, your treasurer. The others could all be at large, or you could have a second VP, and you could have also titles created. But at large, myself, if I were to decide I wanted to be a part of it, maybe I don't want to be one of the officers because I don't want to have that responsibility, but I still want to be part of the board. At large would give me that opportunity to still be a part of it, still have a voice, but not have the other responsibilities. So that's what that means there. Insured's board is meeting all responsibilities to the community, and then research feasibility of expanding to 3-year terms for continuity and ease of elections, and we'll go into that. So, qualifications for new board members. So already currently in the bylaws is an amendment that was passed back in 2016 or 2018 and covered what was required by law of members. This was something we thought could be added in there, that there are many roles and responsibilities of homeowners association board, and some may overlap from member to member. It's helpful to have a working and in-depth knowledge of governing documents. All board members must follow and give 5 fiduciary duties. The fiduciary duties may include care, confidentiality, loyalty, obedience, and accounting, with the most important being loyalty to the community. Integrity, competence, insight, dedication, motivation, and effectiveness are all vital qualities. Board members need to be aware of the changing demographics and dynamics of the community and be open-minded while being a good listener. Board members are team players for the community. These guidelines should be fluid and rely on the strength of the individual members. And this would be added at the end of Article 8, Section 1. This would be one of the amendments if they choose to add amendments to the bylaws. Doesn't have to. So, new board member qualifications. That's where it would be added. That's what it would look like. Now, if the board chooses to add board members to expand the board, it would need to be an odd number so that there is not a tie in a vote. So it would be adding 2 board members. Possible changes in terms. Unless a change is made to term limitations in the current bylaws, any director may run for as many terms as they choose. If the board is expanded, a possibility would be to consider 3-year terms. And we have another explanation on that one. A bylaw amendment is needed to include, let me get back. Let's see if I can get this. Yep. Okay. I do need my book. I'm sorry. Now, this section is a little confusing, so hang in there with me, please. If the board chooses to go to 3-year terms, and this is passed by the community, to do this, to add 2 members and go to 3-year terms, and I'm saying a big if, I'm not saying they do it, it's a big if, then here's what happens. In 2024, the bylaws are passed, and if the community passes them, Then the following year is when the new candidates would be elected. So you're looking at this year coming up, the 2023, I gotta get my years right here. The 2023 would be the language change. And there's only 2 people running, so that wouldn't be any different. But in 2024, you would have the 3 who would be up, plus the 2. So you would be electing 5 new board members, or 5 board members, instead of 3. Now, at that time, if there's a change from 2 years to 3-year terms, there's already language in the bylaws on how to classify who's going to be a 3-year term and who's going to be a 2-year term, or 3-year term, I gotta get this right. And then, once the major election is over in 2024, then it will become a 3-year, 3, 3, and 2. 3 board members, 3 board members, and 2 board members in an election cycle if it goes to a 3-year. So that's how that would work. It gets real confusing. Hopefully, if that happens, we can explain it to everybody a little better than I just did. So, do board member responsibilities need to be updated? We don't have any language for a second vice president in our bylaws. So if the board chooses to have a second vice president by title, that would be an amendment that could be added to the election when we have our election next year. Hey, we need to add a bylaw amendment to add a second vice president. Or they can just have member at large. They can always designate a name for a board member, so it doesn't have to be changed, but if you want to keep that second vice president by name, it should be labeled within your bylaws. Now, here comes the biggie. This is, one of the things they said was, how do we do it? So if we do this, and I'm going to ask you to hold this open for me, so I can see it. So, the role of the board of directors would be to hold a board meeting with the delegates in attendance to introduce the plan, which is what we're doing right now. Sort of. This is a trick. Present a concrete list of pros to the delegates, educate and work with the delegates on why the expansion is important, work with the delegates to set up a plan to present to each of their districts, plan town hall meetings, listening sessions with the community, provide written communications for delegates, advisory committees, and the community. So that would be on the back of the master board. That's their job. So how do you fit into it as a delegate? Well, first, as a delegate, you would need to understand and support the board decision to expand if they choose to do so. You would work within the district to educate the community through district breakfasts, district events, house coffees. You alone should not be doing it. So please don't feel like the board's going to say, oh, we want to do this, so now it's your job. No, it's not. Okay, and then we would help you to create a group to assist the delegates in getting the information out to your district so that you have a group that supports you. And this has been used in the past to raise HOA dues, and it does work. So do that. The support groups would meet with local delegates and update on progress and assist in providing the coffees, listening sessions, table talks, anything to support the board. Remember, it's just to support the decision of the board. Now, where did I throw that? There it is. Now, defining the titles, roles, and duties of the master board, that really would be an addendum to their bylaws. It would be the president does this, the vice president does this, secretary does this. That would be an addendum to the board, and I'm not going to go over that one now. So, questions? Not that I can answer, but I'll try. Here we go.
It's working. Raylene Kretschmann, District 7. I've heard discussions about this, but my question is, where was the initiation? Is this past board's input, the current board, and is it because
the community's too large for a 5-member? I'm confused.
Basically, as I had indicated earlier, is that it was a question on the forums to the candidates that were running for the master board this time. It came up repeatedly, and so one of the members of this particular board felt, well, why don't we have an ad hoc committee?
I mean, from the
research it?
community, questions
Yeah,
from the community.
Questions, why don't we have an ad hoc committee, research it, and come back, and which they did. And the interesting thing is that they're not making a recommendation one way or the other. They're just presenting the pros and the pros of each, whether it's 5 or 7, whether we expand or not. So I think they did a very good job.
Right, and just to add to that, we, as a ad hoc committee, really did stress, we weren't making a recommendation. Our job is to research the feasibility of doing it, if they chose to do it, and provide those facts, and that's what we did.
Okay, and next step would be what?
Board?
The next step, it would go to the board to assess and make a recommendation as to whether or not they want to follow through, yes or no. But basically, this is informational, to our delegates. We're very, very important in the functioning of our community. We want everybody to know that this is out there.
The committee, the ad hoc committee, as you note, walked a line down the middle. They did not make a recommendation of either staying or expanding or what. All they did is offer the various attributes, the various parts of what would happen if the board considered presenting to the membership an expansion of the board. As a comment, I would like to know what the delegates think. I think it's important enough. I will lay out exactly my feeling, if you might. Over the years, I've probably been on umpteen number of boards, and I found the more members we had, the more controversy we had, the more explanations we had, the longer meetings we had, and so on. I always believed, and I still believe, perhaps, that a 5-member board is very comfortable, but that's a personal opinion. Anyone else, please?
I have a question. Was one of the questions at the master board candidates forum have anything to do with term length? Was that part of that question?
It was not.
It was not.
Well, I wonder why the 3-year term came up in the discussion with respect to expanding the number of board members.
I have no idea. It was probably offered by one of the members of the committee, and they thought it would be nice to include it.
No, it was one of the questions from the board.
From the board. Okay, there you are.
All right, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
Yes, I'd like to know if we are going to get copies of your evaluation and the attachments, because I think it's very important for the delegates to have time to review so that we can come to a decision, a good decision. And Bob, are you looking to put this on the 2023 ballot? And are we doing this because Four Seasons has 9 members?
We're not looking to put it on the ballot. We just wanted to research it and get the information out to everybody.
Yeah, this is an investigative, this is a survey perhaps, this is the thoughts of a committee, the committee members. It has nothing to do with what will happen in reality, okay?
So we will have time to evaluate this as delegates?
This is strictly
Okay.
academic. Be honest with you, it may die next week, who knows?
And other members of the community will have an opportunity. If we do it, there'll probably be a town hall as well, and so forth.
That's right. Are there any other questions, please? Any other ideas or comments? Please, go ahead.
When this was first brought up, I actually did talk to Randy regarding this, and I used to work for Riverside County. I'm retired from Riverside County, and they have 5 board members for over 250,000 residents. I feel like 5 is plenty for 3,000 residents or 6,000 residents. So I do think it's something that needs to be discussed, and obviously it'll be put to the community. But I feel like 5 is plenty. You asked, and so I'm giving you my opinion.
Great comments from everyone. Are there more comments, please?
Raylene?
So, again, next steps. As the delegate, are we going to discuss this, go back to our communities? Are we going to take a vote here on if we agree with moving forward with it, or what?
We will not take a vote. If this delegation, our assembly wants it brought back so we can actually have a vote, yes or no, we can do that next month. That is entirely up to this assembly right now. That's up to you. I make no decisions along that line. Let me ask you a question then. Let's get this down the road. Do you think that you would rather discuss this for the next month, perhaps with some of your key personnel, maybe your zone captains, and then put it on the agenda for October and we can vote yes or no?
I'd like to read the report. We don't
Okay.
have any attachments, we don't have any
Will we
information.
get a synopsis of the report, Chris?
We need to
Yes,
study
the
this a
report
little bit.
and synopsis and everything will be provided for all of the delegates.
Okay, there you go. So
I-
then, you
I
will-
agree with Linda, District 19 delegate. We need to have something in writing that we can read and look at and kind of
Okay.
digest.
Well, the board said that we will get a report, a synopsis of the presentation, and therefore I will put it on the agenda for the month of October, and we can vote yes or no. How's that?
Chris and I were just talking, we'll get it on the website ASAP. We'll probably have to do some scanning in, so it won't be immediate. But we'll get it on ASAP. We will let Joe know when it's there, and he can get, Joe and Jim know, and then they can get it out to you guys, letting you know when it is on the website, and you can go take a look.
Okay, very nice, thank you. All right, any other questions, please? Thank you, Gail. I have, where? Is there? Okay. Come up, please.
Barbara Jesus. I didn't notice that there was any cost evaluation. I know we'll have the cost, we'll have the election, it'll probably be included in an election, so that's, a zero. But as far as the management company then working for 7 board members instead of 5, I was wondering the costs for administration, whether it be copies, et cetera, then maybe we could get some information on that.
Are you recommending the management company increase the fees?
Hell no.
I don't think right now this affects the management company. It really affects the community, how it's governed, how they interact on committees, how their meeting length times. It was interesting, the comment about the county of Riverside and 5 for supervisors for the amount of population. I really think it would affect the community, who attends committees, functions, all of that. That would be, it's more the governance, is not, the management company wouldn't, there would be no difference if it was 7, 10, it's still the
Okay,
same.
board, remember that.
Well,
You heard it here first.
oh, no.
My other
I said,
question.
I don't think, my personal opinion, let me qualify, in my opinion, I don't think there would be an extra cost. There might be.
Anyway, just a little note. The other point was the insurance policy and liability for the boards. I would anticipate if you have board members, the insurance company would charge you a little bit more. Anyway, FYI. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I would like to compliment the board. You have to remember that they took a comment or two, maybe from a member of the HOA, and said, okay, that's a good question, and they appointed an ad hoc committee to look into it. That's participation on the part of our HOA, and thank you again for the report. Okay, the next item on our agenda is number 8, discussion, and it's headed up the Communication Advisory Committee Charter. You should have made a copy, if not from the last meeting of the board. Perhaps it is on the website.
May I have any comments or anything that anyone would like to have to say about their charter, please?
I just want to comment we're a 35 years old community. No committee has ever had a chair, vice chair, secretary, or a treasurer. I don't know what money is needed for that you can't invoice and get paid right away. I think it's done in a timely manner. I did ask this question and I was told because it's never been done before, there's no reason why we can't do it now. I just would like an explanation for the treasurer and that committee.
Okay, I see Bob coming. Bob, you're going to give us some answers, right? Thank you.
Part of our committee is the Welcome Home, and all of their expenses comes out of that budget that is granted to the Communications Committee to pay for the dinners they have at the Sandwich, for the bags, for all of the inserts that go into it. All of the costs related to Welcome Home comes out of that small amount of money. That's why we have a treasurer.
Okay.
I honest to God, Bob, I don't understand why, because Welcome Home would invoice and it would be paid from an administration office. It's nothing that...
It's a line item on our budget.
It's just a line item on the budget that's allocated to us. They give us $5,000 or $10,000 a year for that and incidentals that I need for small parts or something like that that I have to purchase to run Channel 97. And so that's what the money's for.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Raylene, go ahead.
So, like the equipment, the new cameras, that kind of stuff?
No.
No? I thought it was...
Well, yeah, it'll include that or a little transmitter that I have to replace like I do now.
Okay.
Because they burn out.
And then the Welcome Home is part of that. So,
And Welcome Home is part
so
of my
it makes
committee.
sense you would need a treasury to me, or a treasurer to keep track of the monies in the budget.
That's all they do, is just keep track of where that money goes. It's just an accounting process.
I'm still going to comment, there are other committees that have a budget. They don't have a chair, vice chair, secretary, and a treasurer.
All of our delegates, all of our districts have a treasurer, right?
That's your district justice social committee. That's separate.
Yeah, well,
EPAP has a budget. They can go out and buy radios. They don't have a treasurer. They go and fill out an invoice and get reimbursed from the administration office.
Why do you have a problem with
not
them having a treasurer?
What's the problem? I
Is
don't
that a
understand.
cost?
It's no cost, it's just an accounting process.
Okay, we're not having a debate.
I think where it came from, Linda, is, and as I think George was just trying to say too, is you're right, you get it reimbursed and it's on the budget. But if you have somebody on that committee that is tracking exactly where they are within their budget, they won't submit something that we as a board have to approve after the fact if they've gone over their budget. So that would be the reason that somebody on every committee should be tracking where they are within their budget.
I have a question. I notice on the cover sheet, it says communications, and on the second sheet, it says marketing and communications. Is it both? Is it a combination of?
It's both. We merged a while back, about a year ago, we merged both of them because one is like a glove to the other. Marketing and communications work the same way. So communications has to do what marketing needs. We have to come up with distributing whatever marketing wants, and so we decided to blend them to help work with them in creating the creatives for marketing and come up with the ideas for marketing. So marketing is an integral part of communications. So we merged those two together.
I look at the makeup of this committee to be somewhat conflict of interest. When the committee is made up of one representative from lifestyles, one from restaurant and lounge, one from recreation advisory, and on, each of them should be a member of their own committee, and therefore will be pulling that way. Are they going to, I just see a conflict of interest, rather than...
They supply information to us to communicate. That's the quickest way we can get the information from the other committees, is if a committee member is on our committee, they can give us the information, we can create the content, we can distribute it. Otherwise, as it was before, we had no communication, so we had no way to communicate with anybody any information. So by having them as a member of our committee, I can ask them, do you have anything that we need to market? Do we have anything we need to communicate? And I can communicate with them and we get the information, we do it. That's why it's improved. Otherwise, we go back and I have to run around to the committees and ask them.
I guess maybe I'm somewhat of a purist. I figure that a profile of a marketing committee is the profile of a marketing committee. Are they going to market internally our groups and clubs and what have you, or are they going to market all of the advisory committees? What are they going to market?
We market anything. We market internally, we market externally. We market to real estate agents, we market inside. If any committee, any club, any group, recreation, want anything communicated, we communicate it. Okay. We have all the different ways of communicating it. If we need something for real estate agents, which we're working on right now, we prepare that. If we need something for Welcome Home, we're working on that right now. We're making videos for them, for both.
Bob, you have...
Yes, let me interject, give you a historical perspective. Years ago, when the Communication Committee was first developed, it was structured to have the president of all the significant advisory committees to serve on that Communication Committee. That's how it developed. And then we also had the Marketing Committee, which was primarily Welcome Home and some internal marketing. And as time went on, as Bob mentioned, we felt there was some redundancy. Why don't we just put them together? Because they're basically both doing the same job, same goal. So about a year and a half ago, they combined. But before they combined, the Marketing Committee did have a budget, a significant budget, and they did have a treasurer to track that budget because they had a lot of cash there, and they wanted to make sure it was being used appropriately. So that's probably where that budget got put into the new Marketing and Communication Committee.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other comments? Any questions on the part? Go ahead, really.
I was on the original committee that created this, and I was the chairman of the Lifestyles Committee at the time. So most of the people that are on there are chairmans, and it really is beneficial because you want to coordinate between Channel 97 and the Lifestyles and the newspaper. All of those things are important. So I think it's a good thing.
Years ago, we had a marketing advisory committee as such. And their charter at that particular time was that they were to sell the idea of our complex here. If you remember down Highway 60, there was a big billboard about Sun Lakes and on, and they advertised in all types of magazines, perhaps military. The bottom line is, I don't know that anybody bought in here because of every bit of that advertising. So the marketing committee profile was then again changed, and they said, okay, we're not doing very well there. Let's start marketing internally. Let's start marketing our clubs and our groups and what have you here. And I always was under the impression that perhaps that program was not fully developed. We have some 80 clubs here, 80. At least we did. And they went from one end of the spectrum of activity to the other. And I think that the marketing committee would have enough job, enough trying to sell the people internally here to be active and ask what the reason is they moved here in the first place if they weren't active. But to combine that with the communications committee, which had to do with the, perhaps Channel 97, Lifestyle Magazine, I think it's putting a burden on a few people to run everything in our complex. I think it's a little too much, but that's a personal opinion. Do I have any more comments, please? Okay. We'll go on to the next one, the Procurement Advisory Committee Charter. Do we have any comments or any suggestions along that line?
Me again.
Linda, go ahead.
I'm very sorry. First of all, there's a lot of typing errors, okay? One thing's really, again, they have a chair, vice chair, and I don't know what they need money for. So why do they need a treasurer also? But what really concerns me is wording in second E, force majeure. That has never ever been in any of our contracts. And do you know what that means? It means a superior, irresistible force. It means a terrorist attack. It means a riot. Last time I looked, we're a 55-year-old community, a 55 and older community. I don't see us rioting. I don't know why that terminology has to be in here. We are the United States of America. We're not a communist country, and that really offended me.
One of my jobs, Linda, at my last company was contract management internationally. That is a standard contract standard. That could be a flood, so your supplier cannot deliver to you, and that's all that's doing is protecting Sun Lakes, because it's not just us. We're doing a contract with people outside our community.
But it's an act of God. We've never had this in any contract.
Well, maybe
and
we
I'm
should. I hate the word never.
I understand that. It just really offended me. It really did.
It shouldn't, because it is if you talk to any attorney, they'll tell you that's standard contract.
And again,
Okay.
why do they need a treasurer?
I can't answer that.
And the election of the 2-year terms, the PAC member can stay on that committee forever, because the PAC member is going to re-elect the member. There is no limit on terms. It's not a 2-year. It says the PAC will, by a majority vote, re-elect the PAC member.
That's
Why?
in the charter.
I don't understand why that's in the charter. Just my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Any other comments? Yes, please, come up to the mic.
Thank you. I didn't really want to make a thing out of it. It's just because I am French, and the term that you use, force majeure, I wanted to explain exactly what it means in French and the translation. A case of force majeure is used when nothing else is possible. That's all. It has nothing to do with communist or anything else. It's just, if there is an earthquake and the sky falls on our head, that's a case of force majeure. We can't do anything else. That's all. Free lesson.
Thank you. I have a question. Does this infringe or diminish the position of the Director of Operations in any way? Chris?
Joe, can you repeat that? I was making a comment about, to Chantel, I'm sorry. I should have been focused on you, Joe, I apologize.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Does this charter diminish or alter the position of the Director of Operations in any way?
I do not believe so.
Hmm?
No,
No. Okay.
I don't believe the charter does.
Okay. In other words, the advisory committee will not tell the Director of Operations, you must take this contract.
Right, no, that was a big thing the board talked about, and you might see that on some of how they're structuring, is those comments and recommendations go to the board, and then the board then will convey to the management team what their communication is. The The management team would then communicate back to the board then messages back to the committee. The structure is the committees should be working and do work at the pleasure of the board, so the board gives them the direction.
Okay, so the final word is the board of directors, as
It really
it
is,
should be.
yes, yes. Whether they sign the contract, whether they choose this candidate out of the RFP, it may differ from what the contract RFP committee chose. The board can ultimately choose, it's their decision ultimately. The committees advise and give advice to the board. The board can say, thank you, take it, or they can do something different.
Okay, so it's up to the board, therefore, to select from the director of operations and/or the committee, or both. That's true.
I just want to add to Linda, that let you know that I personally will review that and everything that you addressed. I'll take a look at it.
I have one question, Joe, to tag on to what Joe said. If we have the procurement committee, is this going to delay something being done? Because usually Mark would make the recommendation, the board would approve it. So now you've added this other step, and does that add weeks? Does that add months?
Now, the board...
Is it going to delay?
The board is also going to give directions to the committee of, this is an RFP. For example, the community patrol RFP that's out. That's a large size. They directed the ad hoc committee, or not ad hoc, I'm sorry. I got too many committees in my head. The RFP, whatever committee name it is, I can't even remember that. The procurement, but gives them direction. And they will sometimes, in the case of the pickleball, that was a $30,000 project. The board said, no, we have 3 quotes. We're going to do an informal procurement committee. We're going to move forward. So they'll direct the committee on what items that they're going to ask for an RFP for, or items they're going to say, no, we're asking the management company to pull 3 quotes and provide that to the board so the board can make a decision if there's a time-sensitive item.
Good. Thank you,
There
Chris.
may, on an RFP, there may be additional time on the RFP process for the review to make sure it's right, but the board has put in a piece in their directive to say, no, in some cases, ultimately the board can decide it's going to go to the committee or it's just going to get 3 quotes.
The bottom line, advisory committees have to remember that their position is an advisory committee, not that their documentation or what have you should always be accepted. Bob?
We don't anticipate any significant delays as a result of this.
So why do they need to have a chair, vice chair, secretary, and a treasurer? What do they need money for?
It's basically the structure, and most of them have a similar template in every every charter here. So it's just basically.
Are you putting that in every charter now?
Well, I think it's in most of them already, but if
No,
you
they're
want
not.
us, if you want us to review and change some of the taking out the treasurers where they're not needed, we can take a look at that.
Raylene, go ahead.
I have a question on all of these charters. I thought, do they report under the board, I mean, shouldn't they all have a term limit?
Yes, there are term limits, you know, and it's a 2-year term limit.
Even if it's not in their charter?
Well, we'll make that change.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
we'll review it and make that change. The term limits are the same for, for every
Yes, the
committee
board,
that we have.
you have rules about
Correct.
any and all members
Correct.
of all advisory committees,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
nothing is perpetual. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think is the treasurer, are you concerned about them spending money? Because I believe the board is also giving that directive to committees is to, for copies, go to the admin building and they can make copies for you. You can use the copy machine. Is that the concern with the, okay. I thought it was just them making copies or something. Okay.
Thank you. We have a member of our HOA. Go ahead, Ken.
So I think that discussion about changes is very good. I think one thing as a resident since 2002, I am so glad that the current board wants an advisory committee to help us with RFPs and contract and use resources within the community. There's been some board situations where we asked for RFPs and we never saw them. There are some that we wanted to have some input and we were never allowed. I think that the working relationship with this committee, administration, and the board is very critical. And if you see something from a delegate inside the charter, why don't you get back and let them look at another change? But to me, this is a significant committee to help in managing our budget and keeping on track that things will significantly impact our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara?
Okay, I'm on the committee, and I love the chair chatter. So, I do believe when I looked at this, I thought treasurer, but like you say, a lot of our charters are standard boilerplate. We don't need a treasurer, but I do think that even at one point, we were discussing maybe a committee may need funds to do the copying or whatever, get a technical writer, then that's basically why it's in the charter, because it's generic. A committee might need a treasurer at some point. If it's not being given any money, I think it's kind of a moot point. Just to clarify, the cell phone is a wonderful thing. It says here, force majeure is a provision in a contract that frees both parties from obligation if an extraordinary event, like an earthquake, directly prevents one or both parties from performing said contract. So I think that clarifies it as to what that means. And you're right, I did see that in the charter, and I thought, okay, that was a little unusual, but we had been talking about the legal things that go on when we're doing the purchases and the contracts. So somehow that made its way into the contract. I don't think it hurts at all. Thank you.
Does the Board of Directors approve all expenditures before they're made of any of the advisory committees?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we need extra coverage based on our insurance for officers and committee members?
Joe, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I'd have to reach out to the broker on that. I'm not sure. I can't answer that. I'll have to get back to the board on that.
I believe that with the authority given to some of these committees, we will have to broaden the umbrella of our insurance. But that's something you're going to check on. Thank you. Are there any other questions on the part of anyone? Okay. Chris, you're on with the budget for 2023.
Right, I was going to do a fabulous presentation, but it got knocked out by all the other presentations. So I've been told I have a limited amount of time. Really what the focus needs to be is, do I have the 3-minute clock? Jason, 3 minutes. As you'll see in the Coffee with the GM, as a reminder, I passed it out to the delegates. This budget process schedule is on the website. If you go to the tab on top of the website, it says Accounting, go down, there's Budget 2023, and there's a schedule. I've already said at the open session what the directives are from the board. Please watch the open session board meeting if you didn't see that. But one of the quick things I want to point out is Monday, September 12th, from 4 to 6, here in the ballroom on the stage side, is the workshop for the budget. This is your opportunity to see the board, the Finance Advisory Committee, and the management company review the 2023 budget, ask questions, have a dialogue over assumptions, estimates, where we think the economy's going, have Jerome Powell call in on the Zoom call, get his input. It's not transitory, but that's another story. But that is the real time for members to see what's going on. There will be time, I believe, to ask some questions, but definitely there'll be a PowerPoint presentation. So please remember September 12th. Also, the next one then is on October 4th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, trying to get people for the night and also during the day to come to these workshops. So with that, that is the quick update, Joe. They will be recorded and they will be on the website in Channel 97. Hernan and Bob Murray will be taking care of that.
Okay, and what is the next chore for the district assembly as far as the budget is concerned?
Oh, so that will be the next delegate assembly. You'll get an update. So that one in September. You'll have an update on that, I'm not September, I'm sorry, October. I apologize. You'll have an update here. I'll give you a PowerPoint presentation, Joe, so please allot me some time.
Okay. Now, will that be before or after, or be before the board approves of the finished budget?
Correct. The board has to approve this, has to approve a budget on October 26th. That gives us time to then send it off to the printer. It must be mailed first class to the community members, owners of record, by the end of November to ensure that we meet the Davis Sterling requirements. And so, yes, this will be an opportunity before. So, Joe, there'll actually be some time if there's input from the delegates, but I'm hoping that the delegates and members would have input beforehand at the workshops.
Good. Okay. Then remember what our schedule is and what our input means to everyone into this budget. Thank you. Next item on is the Board of Directors comments, please.
Yes, Randy and I will be giving those. So the message from the Master Board, and this will be attached to all of your newsletters going out, so everybody will be getting a copy of these. The board approved the cleanup of the areas behind holes 2, 3, and 4 on the executive course. You may have noticed there's a lot of trash and homeless encampments back there. Went back there and cleaned it all out. This may discourage further encampments and further problems in that location. Also, Banning Police Department is now providing some patrols in the perimeter and in that area, as well as Securitas. The board is investigating the upgrade of the conversion of the north tennis courts to pickleball. So what we're going to do is have a larger shade area. We're going to have enhanced seating and an outside refrigerator. It's going to be a real classy thing when it's completed. As mentioned, there's been some changes and functions coming up in the restaurant, as he had mentioned previously, about the Taco Tuesday, Pasta Thursday, and the Monday Night Football, so I won't go into those at the time. There was a name change for the Contract Advisory Committee, as we previously mentioned. Now the Procurement Advisory Committee, but primarily they're focusing on the RFPs more than anything else. We approved the charters for the Procurement Advisory and the FACT Committee, and we also approved a charter change for the Marketing and Communication Advisory Committee, which was updated, we just mentioned earlier today. The board appointed David Keeley to the Master Architectural Committee, Don Day to the Finance Advisory Committee, Keith Niemeyer and Randy Miller to the RV Storage Advisory Committee, and Tom Hyatt and Ruth Bray to the Restaurant and Lounge Committee. We appreciate all these people stepping up and participating in our committees. We also approved a new golf event called Pitch, Putt, and Play. We'll be beginning September 6th on the executive course. This event was facilitated and researched and brought about by Linda Spalding. I want to thank her for that. So if anyone has any questions in reference to that, please contact Linda. And Randy will give the rest of the announcements.
Thank you, Bob. To go back to the budget just really quick, we are looking right now at our second draft that we had. The board and the FSR teams held a brainstorming session recently at one of our executive meetings and came up with a list of about 25 to 30 things, discussions about increasing revenue and decreasing expenses, business 101. So that's what one thing we're working off of, and you guys are going to be able to see that at the open meeting and some of the discussions that we've come up with and ideas that we hopefully have come up with. The listening session will be this coming Monday, September 5th at 3:30. We decided to keep it at the first Monday as we have been, even though it is the Labor Day holiday. The board has approved the Pass Action Group at the last board meeting to display some banners in common areas. Lori Hazelton and Beverly Simmons have obtained samples, and we are considering replacing and upgrading the carpet in the main ballroom. And the community awareness, the next program for community awareness is scheduled for September 29th. The speakers will be the Banning Police Department, Animal Control and Animal Shelter. That, again, is September 29th from 1 to 3 here in the main ballroom. Last thing I want to say is you know, I've heard the word a lot today, and that is team or teams. We are all a team here. We're all working together. Yeah, there's going to be some areas doing this, some areas doing that, but I love seeing what we've coming together as a community, and this is part of the team out, sitting out here and on the air, so we appreciate you. Thank you.
One last thing I wanted to mention in reference to the community awareness program is that in October, we're going to have Homeland Security. 2 agents from Homeland Security are going to be here talking about fraud and other events which impact our community. So if you're around in October, make sure you can attend that one. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Bob. Chris?
Actually, I'm going to let Jason talk about the, oh, sorry. Yeah, you got to do the minutes. But Jason has been working with Manny to go over the age verification. So Jason's going to give an update.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. We were about 1% higher this month than we were last month when I talked to you guys, which we're getting there. This is kind of normal. Every 2 years, we're about the same place at this same point in time. So no matter what we do, we always get that rush at the beginning, but then that last little bit is always hard to get. It's like, you know, losing weight. That last 10 pounds, you know, is always the hardest to get. This is the last 3% is the hardest to get. So we're working on it. Again, every delegate has an updated sheet. Again, we know that there are some on there that may not live in the house anymore, or, you know, they're absentees, or they passed away, or let us know. Jeannie, thank you. You've done a great job. I know Barbara Ellis has done a great job in letting us know. There's quite a few of you guys that have said, you know, this person's not in the house anymore, or this is who's in there now. It allows us to update our records as well. Sometimes we'll have, if a resident passes away and we're not notified and their kids just kind of take over the house and start living in there, we're not made aware of it until something like this or something comes up that can let us know that. So thank you for that. Keep giving us that input. I did give each of you another copy of the age verification form. I do have more here if you need them, so come see me afterwards. I'll have them right here if you need some more. Other than that, you guys, we will keep updating you every month. I'll keep giving you guys more lists as we go on until we reach that 80%. Like I said, right now we're just a tad over 77. I think we're at 77.4%. So we're getting there.
Jason, the corrections on these, do we give them to you or the desk at administration?
You can't, either or, because if you give them to me, I'm going to give them to Manny, who's working on it. Same thing, if you drop them off, they'll give them to Manny, who's working on it as well.
And then there is a rule that if you do not fill out a form, we're supposed to be able to go after you.
You can, yes.
We
The
have
board can, yes.
never, ever done that.
You are
And I
correct.
can give you an example of someone in a district that hasn't filled one out in 18 years, and they're alive and well.
I know Barbara had a question right before you.
Go ahead.
My question is, are you, as new homeowners and residents are coming in and registering, are you having them fill that survey
Yes, we have
out now?
spoken with the staff, like Leslie, who does the homeowner registration. That is part of it. So she is giving them this and having them fill it out.
Okay, that would help.
Okay, so the requirement is for every person in every resident, not just one for each resident?
Correct, yes. It's not just one, everybody in that household we would like to have fill it out.
Thank you.
I had two interesting zone captains. They got their list, and I sent the list to all the zone captains, indicating the zone of everyone on my list. And they turned around and rapped on every door or called or what have you, and they gave the list back to me. And I found out I had a lot of dead people. I'm sorry to be so brutal, but I'll send it on to you so
Yes,
that
sir.
your records can be corrected.
Thank you, Joe.
Peggy?
Hello. I actually have people who do not answer their door and don't answer their phone. So what are you supposed to do? You can't make them do it.
No, Peggy, we know every 2 years we are not going to get 100%. I talked to a few of you about this earlier too. We do not expect to get 100%. There are going to be people who just downright say, I'm not filling it out.
That's right.
And we've always had those. We just need to get that 80%.
You can have my list back.
One more.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead, please, Barb.
I had a resident who said he does not have an ID. He doesn't have a license, he doesn't have a California ID, he has nothing.
Yeah, I would say in that, we can also do the attestment.
How would he get a
correct.
passport if he doesn't have a license?
Credit card?
Correct. We do have attestation forms. If you do have somebody that is in that situation and you really want to get their form for them, contact me. I can email you an attestation form, and it's just you filling it out and saying you spoke with the person, you know they're over 55, and then we just attach that to the sheet.
Okay. Barbara, you have a comment?
Doesn't the regulation say we only need one form from one person in the house? But, okay, I just want to clarify.
Yes.
Yes,
As the law states, yes, you are correct.
Okay.
But
Personally, that makes me feel better. I know we want to collect one on everybody, but is your 80% based on the one
we'll have a
form?
one form per household, yes.
Okay, that's what I was
Yeah, right
wondering. That's
now
what I
we
wanted
have
to know.
about 840 households that have not turned in, which equates to about 23% of the community. So that's why we're right at that 77% that we have.
Okay, I was just wondering how many people we were counting, so only counting a one person.
Correct, but yes, but we like to get the form from everybody, that way we have it on record.
Right, we're trying to get those records. Thank you.
All right. We have all of our reports out of the way, except the delegates and the members of the HOA. Daniel, you want to start?
Sure. I have questions about the fountains at Gate 1 and Gate 2. Is there any word as to what's going to happen to those?
Randy?
So as a reminder, for the community, for the delegates, the city and the state has regulations. The city is also enforcing that. We had to turn those off. They've been drained. What the board has assigned, here another example, the board has assigned the Common Area Advisory Committee to review, provide solutions for the one here at the main clubhouse, Gate 1 and Gate 2. What are the possible solutions? Wait, gamble that the state, Sacramento's leadership is going to change and allow water? Do we find another solution, rock, other? That is, the committee's going to work on that, the Common Area Advisory Committee. They will then bring their results back, and I think the board will be giving a presentation, or probably the CAC will give the presentation of what their recommendations are. That is happening right now.
That's it. Thank you. I'm done.
Pass it on. Right there.
Hi, Barbara Luna, District 20, nothing to report.
Thank you. Linda?
Yes, I want to thank the board for approving Pitch Putt and Play. It's on the executive course. September 6th is the first event. We already have 8 teams filled, which is amazing to say we haven't gotten the word out a lot. It's going to start on the back 9 of the executive course, and the back 9 has plenty of shade trees, and so it should be, I know it's going to be hot, but then we're going to come over here for drinks and dinner, so it should be fun. Bob, I wanted to tell you the fence on executive course hold 3, 4, and 5 has again been cut open and rolled back, so that has to be repaired again. I wish the board would come up with some kind of a solution so we don't have the wire fence, so that it could keep letting the homeless come in. Is there someone here from District 17 that's going to speak? Thank you. I'm not talking then. Thank you very much.
Judy with District 15. I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Judy.
Hi, Jeannie Vaughn, District 13. In regards to the expansion of the board, I was just thinking, I've worked with volunteer organizations for over 30 years, and in those cases, you bring a diverse background to the table. You don't have people that apply for the jobs as much as in a city or paid people. And in Sun Lakes, our committees are also diverse people. Come from different backgrounds, different education, different places they were born. And I don't think, I think if we expanded the board, we would have maybe better representation for the diversity in our neighborhoods. But I agree that 5 has been working very well. So one woman mentioned about the city managing with 5 people and having thousands and thousands. They all come with that goal, that place in mind, but people that come to Sun Lakes and communities like us, they are from all over in varying things and could bring different input to the table. So I would like to think about it a little more and get more information on what those 2 other people or 3 or whatever could be. And Joe, I would like to go down on record as being the only person you know that came to Sun Lakes from a billboard. We were driving down the freeway from Big Bear and on our way to Palm Springs to check out retirement communities, and we saw the billboard and we thought, hey, that's right here, let's go check it out. And we did, and 10 years later, we moved in. But we went to every time a new model opened, we were here to go through it and got our parking pass and drove through and really enjoyed the area way 10 years before we even were able to move in. So I just wanted you to be able to say you knew one person that saw the billboard.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Hi, Pat Puckett from District 11. I really don't have any questions, but I did want to tell you that District 15 and us had a barbecue party for our residents last weekend that was really successful, and I think it made a huge amount of difference to new people who really got to know other people and see how fun and nice this place is, and to encourage all of us to keep doing the fun stuff. And we're good at it. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Pat. Peggy?
This is Peggy Ritter, District 10. I just have a couple of things to say. The first thing I have to say is I'm appalled that the dress code in the restaurant is not enforced. I have been using the restaurant quite regularly now for the last month or so because I might as well spend my money over there as to go to Applebee's, and you don't have any screaming kids in the restaurant. But I'm appalled that people come into the restaurant. They look worse than I look when I go to the market. So I don't know why it's not enforced. I went and I looked to see if I could find a dress code anywhere in the lobby, along the wall, on the ceiling, anywhere, and I couldn't find a dress code. So what? Well, if it's not enforced, you might as well not have one. And the other thing I want to say, when you talk about dressed denim, it's a hard thing to define because, you know, I know people who maybe wear denim with holes in it and they think it's dressed denim. Anyway, I'm just saying, I'm appalled. I mean, to me, it's quite irritating to see people come into the restaurant looking worse than I look when I go to the market, which is pretty bad. And the other thing I wanted to say is these flyers, this Record Gazette and this Sun Life's paper, these things are thrown all over the landscape. The guy drives through here in a car. I've seen him. He sits in his car and he drives past a house and he throws these things out the window. He has no idea where they are landing, and they stay there and they stay there and they stay there. People don't pick them up and they're blown all over the landscape. I would prefer that they leave them in the main clubhouse or someplace because people can pick them up. But they're obviously a nuisance as far as I'm concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peg. George? Really?
This is a question for you, Chris. This budget, is that an attachment to our newsletter, or if we want to send this out, we have to do it ourselves?
No, if you're going to mention anything in your newsletter, you're going to point them to go to the website. Or go to
Okay.
Channel 97 and watch it. Also, it will be, and I can get with Cara, it will be on the billboard. But no, I don't want you to add anything to your newsletter. Just mention, go to the website, Channel 97, or bulletin board with Cara, please.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I'm Jess Ocampo, District 6. Thank you, Jason, for making our luau party successful last night. Thank you again. S'il vous plaît.
Mary?
District 5, I would just like to thank my alternate delegate who has knocked on every person's door who has not turned in their 55 and over survey and knows actually everybody out there and why they didn't do it or if they didn't do it. And he also happens to be my husband, Dave Miller, so I wanted to just put that out there.
Thank you. Jim?
Jim Mickle, District 3. I just want to say that I attended the first Welcome Home, and it was a great success, and it was a great way to meet our new residents. I made some great bonds with them. The other thing, Candace has been a great help. I've become the coordinator for the EPAP, and I've had great support. And also, I went to the Red Cross training, and Linda Cobb did a wonderful job, patient lady, hands-on. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of medical and the military, but the refresher was great, so I would encourage everyone to go and attend it. It's much well worth. It was just brilliant, actually. Loved it. Thank you.
Lorette?
District 2, Loretta Kuzar. I don't have anything to say.
Barb?
District 1, Barbara Elness. I just have one little issue with record keeping. The list that is sent out every 2 weeks with new residents and new homeowners, etc., I'm having some problems getting a complete record, and I don't know if anyone else is having this issue, but I know, there's people that live next door to me, and they're not on the list. Or a new person moved in to the place across the street. She's got a new roommate now. I don't have that information on that person. And so I'm wondering how we can get our records complete. I mean, this is important for me to provide to my EPAP coordinator, to the EPAP new person, the communications person who has asked me for a complete list of my residents. If I don't get this information, I can't have complete records.
Barbara, I almost believe that it is a two-way street. There are some that the additions to the home, we have no idea of how that happens. Someone you might or I might say, hey, my uncle's going to move in. Of course, he'd be 120 years old.
Yeah, all these people
But
that register.
not necessarily.
Well, the ones I'm talking about.
See, that's the problem. Chris, you had something to say on this, Jason?
Yeah, and Barbara, you and I have talked about this, and what you guys will see from now on, if a homeowner moves within Sun Lakes, they will be on this list. Any non-owner occupant will be on this list. So moving forward, you will have all the non-owner occupants, all the, the tent or whatever, that whoever's living in that home, if they registered, they will be on the list. In the past, if a homeowner moved within Sun Lakes, they weren't put on the new resident list, but they will be now. And they'll be denoted that this homeowner has moved within. Because in the past, and Joe, please correct me if I'm wrong, but homeowners that have moved within Sun Lakes were not given on that list to Welcome Home because they were not invited back to Welcome Home because they've already been residents of Sun Lakes. But like I said, from moving forward, they will all be on that list.
Well, we have relatives moving in with them too, and they're not on the list.
Right, and that's who's going to be on it.
And
So we will make sure all those are on there moving forward.
That's a difficult
Right.
situation because nobody's telling us exactly what's happening. Is that right?
You're right. In some cases, there may be, if it's not on that list, and you see a change in the people. Then that's a follow-up with management, because there could have been, we're seeing some now that the foreclosures are starting to move. HUD is getting their act together, and they're moving quickly on some, and they'll just come in, and the people are moving in. Yeah, I'm ready. HUD said, my agent, I'm here. Not registered, no communications. We're starting to see some more of that. So if you all see something new, you haven't seen that change, that property address on that list, then that's the time, like you did. You reached out to Jason and said, hey, what, is this the new person come in there?
Well, there are times when all of a sudden in the neighborhood, somebody reports, maybe a zone captain, and, hey, I got 3 people living in this house, or I have 4 people living in this house. Where'd they come from? We don't know. We haven't received it. So you should take those names or the home address and check with Jason, and then they will check it out for us.
Yeah, Joe, you're absolutely like what Chris was saying. What we're dealing with a lot right now, and I'd like to thank alternate delegate Janice Rice, because she's really brought a few to my attention. When these banks or HUD or whoever's taken over these homes, and they have a management or someone managing that property for them, they're not telling us. All we have registered is American Mortgage or Wells Fargo, whoever is the title of that home. That's who we have. That's who we have registered. If they have somebody taking care of that property, they're not telling us. And so thank you again, Janice, because she's brought a few to me and saying, hey, these people are living here. We have no record of them. Come to find out, no, the owner of the home has never said anything to us, and now letters have gone out for unregistered occupants of the home. So we're able to now follow up on a few of those. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The bank or the owner has, they haven't. So they're going through, they're either using the deed to get in, or they're coming through the get, so they're getting in through that, because they have the proper paperwork, but they're not registered with us. Correct. So like Chris was saying, for all those that can't hear, Securitas, when they do see someone come in with a grant deed, they're saying, okay, we'll let you in. Then they're informing us, so that, or the management, so that we can follow up on them coming in, making sure that they are registered.
Okay,
Good.
so
Thank you,
the
Jace.
2 people that I was talking about both have told me they've registered. They're driving a car in and out, and I still don't have the information on them.
Okay, Barbara, you will moving forward.
So can I get the information on the ones I'm missing?
I will work on that with Leslie, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Jim? Okay, I have a couple of things, if I might. Do we have a check-in sheet, Jason, of the attendance? Okay, let's pass. Okay, I think it needs to be passed, no? The welcome home. I think we had an extremely successful, very crowded welcome home affair about 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever it was. And it was in the Sandwich, and I thought it was very, very successful. I think they probably have to be more often so that they're less crowded and a little more communicative. However, I believe that since it is all centered around the district and the delegates, I'm wondering if the board would consider transferring that committee from marketing, which I don't think has any affinity to it, to the delegate assembly. But that's something for the consideration. Okay? Any comments from our members of the HOA?
I think
Shante,
that's
go
something
ahead.
to consider, and we will look into that, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Chantal.
Use the microphone, please. There we go.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay. I have a question, and then it's because I have a statement afterward. So first of all, I would like to know how much is the board allowed to spend money without discussing it on the main board meeting? Is that clear, my question? What I want to know, if something costs $20,000, can they just say, yeah, go ahead? Or do they have to discuss it on the board meeting? and let everybody know and have a review of people and then vote yes or no.
So on the reserve items, CIP items, those go to the open session for funding. Operating can be done through executive session. An executive session, the board can say it's emergency replacement, get it done.
Is there a limit of what you can say? $50,000? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. What is the bottom line? How much can you spend?
The
I mean,
board
not you,
can
but
spend.
board.
Board can spend what amount that they choose. What if they choose?
Without discussing it to the resident?
So if they use reserves or CIP funds, those will come as an agenda item on the reserve. On the open meeting, and then there's a discussion item for
You
that.
make it a little complicated. I just wanted a number.
So on the reserve, so if it's replacing a road project, let's use the road project as an example. That came.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And that
Thank you.
came to the board,
Uh-huh.
and it was on that open meeting, and that funding level of whatever that dollar amount was approved.
Okay.
Painting of the walls, a reserve item, that was on an open session, was approved.
Okay.
A computer fails, it's $5,000, it's probably going to be an operating item. The board can just approve it in exec session.
Okay. Because, as you know, I've been here for a long time, and I've seen different meetings here and there. And quite often there was something very minor that was discussed, especially if it's a golf, that's discussed for half an hour. It was just an expense of maybe $8,000 or something. But the reason I sound aggressive, and because I am right now, I'm very annoyed with everything. I wish Linda would come a picture of the corner of Pine Valley Road, Cypress Street, and Colonial. We had main water discharge from, and excuse me, I get excited all the time. The city came to repair, which they did when they left. The stop sign on the ground was totally covered with the mud, and it's been over a week now. And then the next day, it seems to me that there was still water running, and I called Mark, and he said he went, and it was just a little bit, and nothing went down. So I said, well, it's all right, today's Wednesday, so tomorrow they come every other Thursday to clean the street, right? And he said, and I was flabbergasted, I don't know if you know about it, but I didn't, and I'm sorry because I don't go to meetings as I used to. He said, oh no, we discontinued that service, so now we don't have any cleaning people coming. I didn't know anything about it. Did you know about it? No, so we don't have any every 2 weeks. So obviously the street, especially with water on the older area where I live, and we are not the only one, it's a total mess. I would not buy a house here if I had seen that when I first came in. It looks like the ghetto. Anyway, I'm annoyed, as you can see. But so it seems like my hands are tied, because when I talk to administration, I did talk to Mark, and I asked one of the board member, and they said, oh, it's not us, it's the city of Benin. Well, are they going to come back and clean it up? Of course not. And so we spend money on things like we're going to do something for the north side, more so they can play better racquetball or something, but we don't fix eyesore. That's if you go on that Colonial Street from one area to the next, where there are two homes that have been empty for 3 years and are full of junk and everything else. It's awful. Go see it. It's horrible.
I believe
what do I do?
the comments is done, okay?
So Chantel, if you check your email, thank you for including me on your email to the city.
Yes, I
Because
took a
then
picture.
I followed up with the proper contact for the city and said,
Marlene?
no, and I CC'd you, you'll see your message go home in the email. The city is going to address that. I'm also going to ask the city to address, because they've made a mess, that they need to clean it up, because the mess is a result of their pipes having a problem. And so I will be following up. You sent that email, you included me, I appreciate it. I sent it to the right person at the city, so it will be addressed.
Okay, well, I called 3
All
times,
right,
they
thank
always
you,
gave me
Chris.
to
I
the
think
same
that
thing. Well,
that
that's an important
conversation has gone long
topic.
enough.
It's nice to be all wonderful Sun Lakes, but you have to bring up something that's right in our face every day. Thank you.
I'll work with you on that, Chantel, but it should be addressed.
Hi, I'm Bruce Brown. My wife's name is Sue. We live at 512 Sandpiper Street, which is in District 17. I am announcing 2 upcoming events at this time. One, many residents of Districts 16 and 17 will be participating in the scheduled October 8th, 2022 garage sale with their proceeds donated to the Pass Action Group in support of PAG's ongoing efforts to stop the Banning Point warehouse. In addition, individuals holding individual garage sales are also considering a combined garage sale, which will be held from 9 to 2 p.m. and set up at the bocce ball courts just inside Gate 2. Any District 16 and 17 residents who will not be having their own garage sale are encouraged to instead consider dropping off quality garage sale inventory in advance of the garage sale. Proceeds from the consolidated garage sale will be donated to Pass Action Group as well. A flyer with more detail will be attached to the upcoming newsletter with further and more detailed information. All other District 16 and 17 residents holding individual garage sales are encouraged to donate proceeds to the Pass Action Group as part of this October 8th event as well. The second event is for me, actually. As a PAG board member, I asked delegates, please notice the Pass Action Group flyer for Fiesta Fundraiser to be held October 24th. It's there. It was at your seat when you arrived. The flyer or details for the event are on the flyer, which PAG requests you consider attaching to your district newsletters. Thank you.
Ken Johnson, Birdie Drive. Last time I was up here, I only got one quick item. I provided some negative feedback with regard to district delegate agendas and minutes. So I apologize, Joe, and through further research, they were posted on the website. Unfortunately, and you were CC'd on an email I sent to Jason, that the website needs some correction. The website is not allowing you to get directly based on how you're using a laptop or a phone. And Jason is going to have Hernan work with the web company so that we can make sure that we can get to the information that you've been posting out there. And I appreciate, Jason, your efforts in the follow-up. I'd like to maybe suggest another thing is that what brought me up and I was concerned is in doing research, I go back and look at agenda and meeting minutes to determine if I should go look at a video. And we still only have a couple agenda and meeting minutes for the district delegate. It would be nice if you could assign maybe your co-chair to go fill up the website with past ones so that's easy to do research. Another suggestion is that I'd like to maybe suggest in your budget, you know, calendar, put in a $30, $330, $15 gift card twice per month and have a raffle to the district delegates to get their newsletter posted to the website. I think that, again, if we're looking at, somebody just commented about their district doing a garage sale, we could go to the newsletter and get some additional details. Or for myself, my district may have something that they deliver by hard copy, and I don't have an electronic version, so I need to go do some follow-up. Again, just a couple suggestions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ken. One answer I can tell you is that the District Delegate Assembly does not have a budget, neither a line item or anything. We depend solely upon approval by the Board of Directors, and they have been very generous when we have requested anything. Barbara?
In answer to the delegates' comments about the restaurant rules, and I know we have the sign out there, well, we all know people don't pay any attention to the signs. We can tell that from the traffic rules. So I would suggest that we get 2 mannequins, a male and a female, and dress them up to what we don't want a customer to look like, and put a sign on and say, please pay attention to our dress rules, thank you. Something like that. Good night, Barbara.
All right. Are there any other comments, please? Yes. Is that the aware? Oh, I don't know whether the board has forwarded it to the printer or not.
It has not been forwarded to the printer, but any delegate that wishes to put it on their newsletter may do so, as with any type of flyer.
It's up to each delegate to send it in with their newsletter during the month of September, okay? Any other questions? If not, this meeting is adjourned, and thank you all for attending. I appreciate it.